Have you ever had this happen? You're so excited about moving abroad, you've got this whole new life planned out, and then you talk to someone who's already done it, and they hit you with, don't even bother. It's not worth it anymore. It's weirdly discouraging, right? And it can really sting. So today, let's get into it. Let's unpack the really complex psychology behind what we're calling immigrant gatekeeping. I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? You would think that someone who's been through the fire would want to help you find your way, but so often it's the total opposite. We're going to explore all the reasons why, from some really practical fears to some deep, deep-seated insecurities.
All right, first up, let's talk about the practical side of things, because this isn't always just about feelings. For a lot of people, this behavior is rooted in some very real-world pressures about resources, about jobs, about survival.
At the very heart of this is something called a scarcity mindset. It's this core belief that there's only so much to go around. So the thinking becomes, hey, if I had to fight tooth and nail for my spot, why should it be any easier for you? You know, when you've really struggled for everything you have, the idea of someone else just waltzing in can feel, well, fundamentally unfair. It's kind of like a defense mechanism that's born from all that hardship.
And believe me, that hardship is the real deal. We're talking about years spent just wrestling with visa paperwork, taking jobs that are way below your skill level, and dealing with this profound, crushing loneliness and constant financial stress. Those experiences, they really shape a person's entire worldview, and they create this filter that they see every single newcomer through.
But let's be super clear here. This goes way beyond just an internal feeling. That scarcity mindset is often fueled by a totally legitimate fear of what more competition could actually mean for their own stability.
I mean, look at it from their point of view. More people showing up could mean a smaller slice of the pie for them. It's this fear that, more competition will drive down salaries for everyone, or even worse, it could reinforce those harmful stereotypes about cheap labor that they've worked so incredibly hard to escape. So in that light, telling others to stay away, it can feel less like being mean and more like a strategy for self-preservation.
Okay, so let's move on from the practical fears and dig into something a little deeper, maybe a little more complicated. We're talking about a powerful psychological driver that's tied directly to a person's identity.
For some people, the very act of having made it abroad becomes this huge part of who they are. Their entire identity gets wrapped up in being the one who got out, the one who succeeded. They're global now. They're different from everyone they left back home.
So what happens when more and more people from back home start to arrive?
Well, that special, unique status, it starts to feel a little diluted. All of a sudden, they're not so special anymore. They risk becoming just another face in the immigrant crowd. And that can trigger this really deep insecurity that makes them want to push other people away just to protect that fragile sense of self.
And this right here, this is the kind of language that insecurity creates. It's disguised as advice, of course, but often it's just a subconscious way to keep their distance and hold on to their own perceived special status.
And sometimes there's another, even more uncomfortable layer to all of this. It's something sociologists call an internalized colonial mindset. This is the subconscious, deep-down belief that success in a Western country is somehow reserved for only a select, deserving few. Now, it's a really complex and sensitive idea for sure, but it can help explain that weird kind of elitism that sometimes fuels this gatekeeping.
So now, let's get down to the most personal level of all, the raw, unprocessed emotions and the cognitive biases that can totally twist someone's advice into a dire warning. Wow. When you hear something that blunt, that harsh, it's almost never actually about you. More often than not, it's a direct reflection of the speaker's own unhappiness. That foreign dream doesn't always turn out like the movies, and a lot of people are quietly dealing with burnout, disillusionment, and just plain loneliness.
And this little chart really shows that disconnect perfectly. They might say, this place isn't worth it, but what they're really feeling is, I'm so lonely here. They might say, you won't make it, but the truth underneath all that is probably, I'm really struggling and burnt out. This is classic emotional projection.
And it is so important to see this for what it is. You're not getting helpful guidance about your future. You're just getting a loud signal about their painful present.
And then you've got survivor bias. This happens when someone succeeds against all odds, and they kind of forget that luck or timing had anything to do with it. Maybe they forget that the immigration laws were way easier back then, or that they just got one lucky break. They start to think their success was all because of their own amazing skill, which then leads them to look at newcomers and just dismissively think, well, they just don't have what it takes.
But, and this is a really important but, we have to be fair here. Not all of this discouragement is malicious. Sometimes the warnings are actually coming from a place of genuine concern.
The reality is, for a lot of places, things have gotten harder. Immigration rules are way tougher, big cities are ridiculously expensive, and a lot of job markets are totally saturated. A warning based on these hard facts isn't jealousy. It might just be protective honesty from someone who really doesn't want to see you go through a terrible time.
But see, in the end, it's not always about the information itself. It's about how it's delivered. A warning that comes with empathy feels like someone cares about you. That exact same warning delivered with a dose of arrogance, that feels like gatekeeping. The tone is everything.
Okay, so we've unpacked all of that. Now what do you do with it? How do you actually handle these conversations when they happen to you? Let's build a little mental toolkit to help you navigate all this.
The first most important thing to just burn into your brain is this. Their words are usually a mirror. They're reflecting their own fears, their own insecurities, their own journey. They are not a crystal ball that can predict your future.
So here's a super simple 3-step filter. 1. Listen for the emotion behind their words and try to pull it apart from any actual hard facts they might have. 2. Push for specifics. Don't let them get away with the job market is bad. Ask them, okay, what specific roles are saturated? And 3, this is the big one. Make a conscious choice not to let their fear become your fear.
Really, this whole thing boils down to one simple, incredibly powerful question that can help you cut through all the noise every single time.
So just ask yourself this. Is this advice data-based or is it ego-based? Is what I'm hearing based on measurable facts, on actual data, or is it based on this person's ego, their own fears, and their unresolved baggage? Learning to spot the difference, that is the absolute key to protecting your own dream.